She's bleeding out. Someone call an ambulance. The voice cracked through the quiet gray dawn like thunder. It came from the edge of the 7-Eleven parking lot, where the rain from the night before still clung to the concrete in glistening patches. Rachel Keller lay on the ground, curled slightly, her hoodie darkening with blood. One arm cradled her ribs. Her eyes flickered. She didn't scream. The chaos around her grew, shouts, sirens, someone yelling to press down on the wound. But Rachel barely heard them. Just moments earlier, she'd stepped out of the store, snacks in one hand, phone in the other, fresh off her overnight hospital shift. She hadn't even unwrapped her granola bar when she saw it happen. A Marine, barely older than her, was being attacked. Two men. Knives out. One had already slashed his thigh. He'd collapsed near the ice machine. He was cornered, clutching his side, struggling to breathe. Rachel didn't flinch. She ran. No plan. No backup. No weapon. Just instinct. She yelled, drawing attention. The attackers turned. One charged her. She threw her body into him, shoving him sideways. The other lunged. She kicked, but he ducked and struck, blade slicing her side. The first one recovered. Another slash, her arm this time. Then her stomach. Still, she stayed between them and the Marine. She dropped to her knees, half shielding him with her body, blood soaking her sleeves, hoodie, jeans. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but because they were still trying to cover his wounds, to protect. That's when the sirens arrived. Officers poured out, guns drawn. The attackers fled. Rachel collapsed. She didn't wake for 3 days. And when she did, there was no crowd, no cameras, just quiet, hospital walls, and the heavy throb of stitches pulling at her side. 5 days later, Rachel stepped out of her front door with a limp in her stride and a silence in her eyes. She hadn't turned on the news. She didn't want to see the footage that had already gone viral, headlines calling her the guardian angel in a hoodie, the girl who took the blades. She wasn't a hero. She'd just done what her gut told her. She wasn't ready for what waited on her lawn. 200 Marines. In full uniform. In perfect formation. The morning sun casting long shadows on the suburban street. Rachel froze. A man in formal dress blues stepped forward. A Marine sergeant. He stood tall, saluted her with crisp precision, then lowered his hand and presented her with something she never imagined would be for her. A folded American flag. Not for a fallen soldier, but for her. "Miss Keller," he said, voice strong and steady. "On behalf of the United States Marine Corps, we recognize your bravery, your sacrifice, and your unshakable courage under fire." Her fingers trembled as she took the flag. Her voice caught in her throat. Behind her, neighbors peeked through curtains. A little boy held a toy soldier. The world, for once, stood still. She wanted to disappear. She wasn't military. She wasn't special. She'd never signed up to be part of anything. But still, here they stood, saluting her for what she did without hesitation. A black SUV pulled up behind the formation. A decorated officer stepped out and handed her a white envelope. Inside, an invitation. A full Marine Corps honor ceremony in her name. She tried to hand it back. "I'm not a soldier," she whispered. The officer looked at her, dead serious. "Ma'am, what you did was more Marine than most Marines ever get to be." She swallowed. Silence wrapped around her again. But this time, it wasn't loneliness. It was honor. The ceremony was held the following week. Rows of Marines. Formal speeches. A podium draped in red, white, and blue. But Rachel kept her head down, her hoodie sleeves pulled over bandaged wrists. She didn't speak. She didn't want applause. Then came the final moment. Honor detail, present arms. 200 hands rose in perfect unison. And Rachel's world tilted. From the crowd, a young Marine stepped forward slowly, on crutches. Pale, uniform pristine, expression unreadable. Private First Class Landon Brooks. The man she'd thrown herself over. The man who had survived because she didn't run. He limped toward her. One slow step at a time. The wind lifted the flags gently as he reached into his coat pocket. From the velvet box, he lifted a purple heart. Rachel gasped. "No. I don't deserve that." "You bled for someone you didn't know," Landon said, voice cracking. "You stepped into the fire. That's not just bravery. That's what we live for." He pressed it into her hand. The crowd fell into a hush. Even the high-ranking officers didn't move. She clutched it, trembling. Then looked out into the sea of uniforms. Her voice cracked for the first time. "My dad was a Navy medic," she said. "He died when I was 9. I grew up folding his flag. Never thought I'd hold one." The crowd was silent. "I'm not a Marine. I don't wear a uniform. But I know what honor looks like." And that day, they did too. Later, the video would flood the internet. Comments from veterans, families, strangers. "She's what courage looks like. That's more than a medal. That's a legacy." Rachel keeps the Purple Heart next to her father's flag. Not as a trophy, but as a reminder that heroism doesn't wear rank. It bleeds. It stands. It chooses. And sometimes, it wears a hoodie.